Welcome back, y'all. How y'all doing?
Hey,
So another week has passed. Dr. Pratt, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Welcome.
I'm getting ready for Juneteenth. So,
I, oh yes, Juneteenth is a couple weeks away.
yep. And this time, this will be the first year that I believe everybody will be on the same page. Every year since I've learned this, I didn't ever read the declaration that was declared that in Texas that people could be free if they don't stop moving. Can't take a rest. So now this is the year where actually be like, I can actually say, everybody will understand what I say. We are radically standing up
Yes, we
while
are.
resting.
Yes, we are. Welcome back to Antonia's Blissful Corner. I hope you're all doing well. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Please subscribe if you haven't done already because, I mean, we're all things, everything introverted, and we're happy that you're here. So, Dr. Pratt, I saw an article in Reddit that I thought was interesting, and it is so is being an introvert just a trend nowadays? What say you?
I think that people are speaking their truth and they are proudly speaking their truth and loudly speaking their truth. And the truth matters. So people it may give the appearance that more people is trendy. That said, it's like a lot of other things, like unfortunately, a lot of the horrific, toxic family conversation, we were having those conversations in the 80s. We just didn't have social media, or we didn't have, you know, people that are willing to act out skits of what happens in their toxic families.
Mhm.
And then you also have the different groups of people. So whether it's black women, or whether it's women in general, or whether it is Gen X, Gen Z, Gen A, all these different subcultural groups are standing up. So
Mhm.
then an introvert who's a Gen Z versus an introvert who's a millennial, um, they may not speak the same way and they may even not even use the term introvert. And so I think a lot of times it appears to be larger. The conversation around a topic appears to be just super nova large. But when you drill down into the topic, the subsections and what's fueling the topic, and of course, the other side of this is if it clicks, it used to be if it bleeds, it leads. Now, if it clicks, it leads.
Mhm.
So the word introvert may trigger people negatively, and so the media is using their word all the time to introvert, introvert, like Black Lives Matter, introvert,
Right.
And so it's like, is it really? Because I honestly don't know, except for BuzzFeed, anybody that talks as much about introvertism. Um, some people use the word, imposter syndrome. I can't stand that word, but they use that to describe being an introvert, and it's not. It's just a whole different scenario. But so I don't think that it's as trendy. I think it's acceptance,
Mhm.
and we now know. Like somebody the other day quit being an ICE worker after they had grabbed a woman out of their car and put her into a detention center. They couldn't deal with the blowback because she was actually an American citizen.
Mhm.
They couldn't deal with the blowback as working for ICE. And I was telling my wife, I think that we're at a position now in 2025. I don't know where we're going to be at 2028, 2029, 30, but we're at a position now that talking about toxicity, being a bully, being perceived as a bully, all these things that in 2005 or 2011 or 2015, people had been like, well, everybody. Now people are hyper, super focused
Mhm.
on how am I or how am is my neighbor or my fellow man or woman or fellow person being treated.
Mhm.
And if it's being treated badly, we now know the words. I don't think we've ever used the word bullying as much that I can remember. Even all those after school specials that, oh my God, were on almost all the 90s. It was still, like, couldn't get away from them. It was just like, oh God, another after school special, another after school special, another after school special. Oh God. But like bullying, toxicity. So is introvert trendy, or are people acknowledging that there may be a toxic way of looking at another individual who's not talkative? And that word is called introvert. So there's the word, but the question was, is being an introvert trendy? And I don't think so. I think it's to answer the question directly. No, I don't think so. I think it's just that we're talking about topics that include introvert. Because again, I don't really run across people randomly saying, "Yo, I'm an introvert." They'll say, "Get out my face. Why are you bothering me?" And that can be perceived as introverts, but I don't have the word popping up in my timeline anywhere. You know, until I met you and thought about it. I didn't even think about what that looks like for a group collective, because it's in, just shyness has always been a blurred or nerd thing,
Mm-hmm.
and not wanting to talk in general. So a gamer, so it's not something that I even thought as a separate, its own thing. And that's it. That's what the person. That's what the question is kind of saying. Is like, oh, are you choosing to be stand up and be this one thing? And it's like, what is introvertism, or it being an introvert? Is it just one thing? Is it, or is it a multitude of things that's being lined up under this header?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Excuse me. Me not knowing or understanding myself, like I used to say, I was shy, I was socially awkward. But I think I mentioned before that I knew that it was more than that, but I didn't know what. And I will say that when I first learned the term introvert after reading Susan Cain's book, Quiet, that's when I was like I felt like I was being seen. I felt understood. I felt like I
Lights
found,
clicked on.
yes, right. I felt like I wasn't weird, at least not weird. I felt weird like everybody else in this category is. And so I don't think that it is a trend. And I will say that this question was something that was raised 2 years ago. But I think that being introvert is actually more relevant now. And I think it's because as for me, like me looking at my journey, I'm now accepting who I am. And so I feel like I'm giving myself permission to walk in this, well, under this umbrella, knowing who I am.
Right.
So therefore, giving myself permission to say no and mean it, giving myself permission to decline requests or invitations, because I mean, I
You
need to
can,
present
because you can.
clarity.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I now understand myself, I'm able to now own it.
Right.
They I think that people will look at a person, like when I learned that people who are in the public eye, right? So President Obama, Kendrick, all of these people, like LL Cool J. When I learned that they're introvert, I'm like, it makes sense to me, right? But someone who doesn't understand introvert will say, no, they're not, because they're thinking LL is like a big rapper from the 80s, 90s. And the thing is, it's like, that's not what it's about. It's about like
But you
energy.
never see him, hanging out. You don't really see it
No,
like that. Yeah, they
right.
all fit the model, at least in my head, of what an introvert is. Even though, but then
Yes.
how you show up, like what you do, work that you do, or even doing design t-shirt. Like, how can she be a t-shirt seller and she's an introvert? Because that's just her job.
Right.
That's
Right.
not who she is. Like,
Right.
that's the skill set that I think that's the other issue too. People not looking at people's skill set and saying,
Mhm.
you know, oh, they just, he said it. Obama said it. You're in a room with these people and you think that they're special and everything. You realize they're not. So that's to me a worse scenario for introvert, who's like, okay, let me force myself to be extrovert. Let me get outside my character, and then you're like, I got out my character for this.
Right. Right. Like I wasted a coin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And for me, as I mentioned to you before our call, like I'm having the time of my life now because I now understand myself better. Like I record videos, whether it's a skit or a serious video or me just, like showing my fashions for the week or whatever have you. And it's fun because it's who I am. Like this is me on a daily. I just don't record it for the world to see, but I'm comfortable now doing it because I accept who I am. Right. I accept that that people will, because the reality of it is people will still look at introverts like they're weird because we don't talk and what's wrong with you. But now I don't care. I think the difference is now that I have embraced my personality type and know that I'm as normal as the next person, I'm I'm happy. Like I'm okay with people looking at me like she is so weird. I like when I'm in the office space, I knew they think I'm weird because I only speak to a few people. And if the people that I care for are not in the office, then I don't talk to anybody.
But
Um,
that to cut you off for a second when you said she's so weird, that made me think about what that person is thinking that um, it's trendy because they're being forced to acknowledge. Versus before, it didn't seem like it was trendy because you could just do what you just said. Oh, she's so they could people could dismiss introvertism.
mhm.
Now you can't necessarily dismiss introvertism without talking about, well, you're dismissing this person whose individuality you're disrespecting. So, I don't want to do. Oh God, you guys are so sensitive.
Right.
No, and the crazier thing is that the introvert is not running around. That's why I was like, because the introvert is not really running around saying a flag, saying, "I'm an introvert. Please give me respect." We don't like
Well,
do what you
well,
want to do.
I will say that when I learned the term introvert, I think I was just so happy and proud. I felt like
Mm.
I found, like
You found your tribe. You found your people.
yeah, like I was, for lack of a better word, diagnosed, right? Because all
Okay.
along I'm thinking like I'm just basically the oddball, like I'm so awkward. I don't want to go, but I'm still gonna go, like I'm
Mm.
faking to fit in to spaces that I hate or being around people that I don't really care for, like all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
When I learned the term introvert, I really was walking around saying, but I'm introverted. I'm introvert, and I realized that I was saying it more than I needed to, but it's almost as if like I was using it as an excuse to not do certain things or to get at a certain thing or for people to understand that like I'm quiet, I'm an introvert, right?
Okay,
And
so you were saying it, but you weren't demanding the respect.
no, I
But
was just
right, you were
saying it
just right. Gotcha.
to explain my behavior,
Mhm.
right? And the whole concept of the introvert whisperer actually came because two people who are very extroverted, in my opinion, were being bullies. Because we were on live, right? So
Mhm.
Instagram or Zoom or whatever have you, and on two separate occasions, but I feel like it was meant to happen that way, where I one of them, I was just finished talking about introvert, and they were like, what makes an introvert? And were you diagnosed? And I was like, oh. And then a couple
And
days
why is
later,
that even a thing? Why are we even discussing your
right?
personal HIPAA
Like who cares?
information?
Like
Right.
who cares, right? And when it happened the second time, it bothered me so much that I said, okay, I'm not going to use the word anymore because I realized that, oh my God, I'm offending people.
Uh,
But then when I looked into it and I did my own research, I'm like, man, I'm proud to be introverted. I'm a screaming loud and proud.
that
And
part.
that's when I decided to become the introvert whisperer because I do recognize that when we do not understand something, we're quick to basically dismiss it, judge it, and all of that because we're human. Yeah, like
Right.
it doesn't matter. And the reality is there are so many ways to get information nowadays. You can ask Siri. I don't want to say it too loud because you can't wait. So you can ask that. You can ask Alexa. You can Google. You can Chat GPT. You can everything. Like if you don't understand something, but I just think that while in the context that they were doing it in, it's almost as if like they're thinking that people are just saying it now because it's the cool thing. And the reality of it is there is nothing cool about being introverted. Like there's nothing cool about being awkward or being like outcast or um I mean, now I've embraced and accepted it.
But okay, so okay, I got you. So now that you embrace it and accept it, you can revel in it. Versus
Yes,
before you, okay, got you. You beat yourself up because you didn't feel
yes,
like you. Okay,
yes, yes. Because before I didn't feel like I fit in, and I would basically just have these internal meltdowns being in certain spaces because I couldn't function. Like,
right, right,
you know what I'm saying. So now I don't beat myself up. Now I'm like, okay. So I'm experiencing life differently because I understand
yeah.
myself better.
I used to wear in my head. I wore a, FU shirt with my middle finger in the air. It's so interesting. It's like your experience is complete. I think it's definitely from my child from the time I could think that I didn't I love my dad. Just gonna preface by that saying this, but I didn't think my parents. Um, I didn't think I should be here with them. I didn't think that they were. I was. So I always kind of had not a cockiness, but like, oh, and so, and that got me spankings. I got spanks all the time, beatings all the time. But uh, the recently I told a story. I don't think I told you this. I was on um I was on a milk carton as a missing child because
What?
yeah. It's funny, but at the same time, kind of not funny, but it's funny. So I thought that I was gonna get spanking publicly. Like that was the one thing I really did not like about my mother. If you effed up in school, her rule was she come to school and wherever you effed up, you got beaten. So I effed up at home all the time. But this is the first time I was gonna get an actual. I think I was purposely late to class, something. So I was instead of getting a D plus, I was getting a D minus, which would really been an F. So I failed this course. So I was like, then that meant that my mother's coming to school. That meant that the teacher's gonna be like, well, he blatantly, was late to class, whatever. I marked him absent. I didn't really like the teacher. She didn't like me. So that's the other thing too. After I ran away from home and I came back, I forgot to tell the other person the story. I came to that class and the teacher's like, I'm just gonna be real with you. I don't like you. And they were like, and they were like, and I know you don't like me. I was like, yeah. It's like, but you could have come to me and told me that this was going to happen, and I would have just changed the grade. I never wanted you on the streets of like. So I left Jersey. I was down. My school was downtown Newark, New Jersey. And I left the school at lunchtime. You could leave. I left the school and never came back.
Uh,
So my parents, my religion, the church, everything, they formed a search party all in Jersey because I wasn't in Jersey, so they didn't find me. So they was like, "No, this was a time where national missing child exploitation was high. It was very high number. It wasn't just black kids; it was kids in general. Kids were just snatched off the street. It was ridiculous. So they had what do you call those school safety films about it. Also the thing in Atlanta was happening. It was not then, but it was bubbling up where children were being snatched off streets. So they just thought that me, a 12-year-old, kind of chubby, short black kid, was somehow snatched. I don't know how anybody thought that was possible, but whatever. And so instead of thinking like, oh, he out, he was like, they didn't. No one in their mind thought I left New Jersey and lived on the streets of Brooklyn, homeless for like 4 days.
wow.
So yeah, yeah. So I'm not saying that to say that's how the extent that my introvert. I'm never saying to you, "Oh, I'm an introvert." I'm always like, mm. And from a little age, I've been that way. So when you said that, I was like, man, have I always said, as long as I live in my truth, it's like, I don't really care that you don't like me. I don't really care. I don't care. And there was another instance. So after I came back, that was 10th grade. So in 12th grade, at the end of the year in Jersey, they had they had our prom at this place called the Manor. It was very expensive, very uppity, whatever. So they were like, "You're gonna go to the manor," and my graduating class is about 60 people in my graduating class. So they're like, "You're gonna go to the manor with us?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "That's the first time this person has talked to me in 4 years in school." So
Mhm.
I was like, no. And they were like, why you say it like that? And I was like, you've never spoken to me all 4 years. They're like, we never talked to me either. So I was like, this is senior English class, English lit. So they're like, why are you not coming to somebody else in the class? And why are you not coming to prom? I was like, I'm gonna spend at that time was $1,000 basically is the car, the corsage, my tux, her tux, and I was dating somebody who was she was a former senior of the same school, so she was 4 years older than me. So I didn't really. People knew, some people that in the school knew, but I didn't really want to bring her around them anyway because of questions like, how is she dating this young kid? And she's 20 and I'm 16 or 17 or whatever it was. So back then there was no cougar, it was not, that was not a thing. So I was like, oh, the girl's dating you, why she did? So I'm like, I didn't want to deal with that. So I was like, I'm not going to spend money, $1,000 to bring a woman I care about or a girl I care about around people that don't care about me. I was like, y'all have never talked to me, the two of y'all have never said a word to me in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, vice versa, and I was like, exactly. So why would I spend $1,000 to be around two people that haven't talked to me all year, like 4 years? And the teacher interrupted it. He was like, you know, Martin, you don't have to be as harsh. It's like, I was like, I'm sitting here minding my business. I'm sitting here writing. I'm minding my business. And they asked me a question. So I've always kind of been that, like, if you're gonna come for me, come for me. But if you're gonna try to come for me and be like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Why you do this? It's like, no, shut the f up. Like, so. But it wasn't because I was an introvert. It's just because I felt like, you don't have a right. Now you're trying to superimpose something else on your viewpoint on me, or talk to me a certain way. And
Mm-hmm.
when you said it, I was thinking like, because of the other people I associated around or I consider friends besides my cousins, very much the same way. And I was trying to think like, was it all of us that was just like, yo, F you, or was it just a time frame of crack? It was '80s, it was crack. Hip hop had just started. We was all kind of hard. They used to call us tack heads. I wore
Yeah.
my shell toe Adidas with double strings like this, two
Yeah.
colors. So I always thought I was a thug, smart thug, not a thug,
Yeah.
smart thug. I was on the streets, but I was street adjacent. And then my
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend, her brothers were bigger, way big brolic guys. So they were from Newark. I was from East Orange. So I was considered softer. But and in our school, we used to get beat up. The school got jumped on a daily basis from another school that was around the corner. It was a bigger school. It was a way more tougher school, Central High. And the one time, a good friend of mine, he was getting pistol whipped because they wanted to take his jacket. He had a goose down that was like hunter green with lambskin fur collar. He was a pretty boy. He was light skinned, had the nice curls and everything. So it looked like Elder Barge. So he was getting his ass beat. So I ran down there screaming at the top of my lungs with a hockey stick or something. And they ran. I was like, oh, I chased off the. Behind me is the basketball team. Guys 6'2", 6'3", chasing after me because the guidance counselor has said, who is that little kid running out here? That was a freshman. They said, who's this kid running out here with the hockey stick? And everybody, what? And they all came out. But I was like, dude, why y'all don't y'all care that one of your classmates? I did because he was my friend. But like they was standing around while this guy was being beat up, like a
Crazy.
1,000 feet away. Yeah, nobody was doing anything. So I've always felt like as a nerd, I was definitely a nerd. I've definitely embraced that. I always felt like as a nerd, like you gonna come for me, we gonna go at it. But if you don't come for me and you just leave me alone, we good. I'm never gonna talk to you. You never gonna talk to me. That's okay. So I always felt like that. Somebody said like, and I felt like you. Like I refused to go to events and things, and my parents never really asked me why. They was just like, okay, you're not going. I'm like, nope.
So that's how
So
you've always been. You've always
yeah,
been.
like nah, I'm not. But I never had. I think it was a generational thing because I think that to your point, I'm thinking about my wife, and she's an introvert to a certain degree for the most part. Not in a certain degree. She's way more introverted than even me. So she could not speak to people, and her mother is like that. My mother-in-law is like that too. So she was born almost in DNA of like they can go for almost a week and not say a word.
That's
So
it. And no problem. And there's no
right,
problem.
right. Right. But she married somebody like me who pokes her. Hey, how you doing?
And I go,
Exactly. Exactly. So, but yeah, I think it was her generation, which is similar to yours. I think is you know, they were more so. There was more emphasis on social, and social interactions. The '80s, the '70s kids, it's like shut up, don't be heard, be seen but not heard, and so nobody really said, hey, you should be more outgoing. You should embrace your gregarious. Because I have a gregarious nature. I'm not going to be like Uh, I can play the role really well and care and be in that moment. But
mhm.
then you ask me to, that same day that I played the role, you're like, oh, and I'm having an event, and so and so. Oh yeah, I'll come. I'm not going. Yeah, I am not coming. I
And
like it's Saturday. I'm tired. You know,
it's easier to say yes
yeah.
to basically dead the
Right,
conversation
right,
than to
right,
say
right.
no because you
Or
say no.
or genuinely feel it in the moment with that conversation. But as
Yeah,
I extrapolate myself out the conversation, it's like, why did I say yes? The fuck.
yeah.
But I never beat myself. That's the thing I was trying to because you remind me a lot in some cases of like how I feel. So I'm like, did I feel like I should have? Well, why didn't I feel like I should? I should step up. I should. One thing I always did, even as an adult, and as a child adult, I got people greeting cards. And so that was my way of embracing you. If I got you a greeting card and it said happy birthday or it said, congratulations on your job, whatever, and wedding anniversary. I got couples I didn't even know. I mean, I didn't know them personally, but they were the same church. I got the wedding gifts. I mean, at wedding anniversary. I liked wedding anniversary. I liked remembering things. So
Mhm.
even that, but people looked at that as like, oh, he's a really outgoing person because he likes. No, I like going to Hallmark section of the store and getting a card, and I like seeing their expressions when they get like, oh, and as a little kid, and people won't expect it from me, and because I was always serious as a kid, so they were like, this kid, he likes it, he smile, okay. Same thing at work for people that yeah, I didn't even know you noticed I've been here 10 years. Nobody else has gave. You're the only one that gave me a card. You know. And
Because we
so
get
it's like, oh, he cares about me. Not necessarily. I like cards.
no, and I think because I'm similar, so I'm gonna go back to the I don't care. So this, I'm just now arriving at this space, right?
Mhm.
My sibling, I used to always say, "Oh my God, I wish I was more like my sibling because she don't care." Like she'll say, "I don't care," and she means it. And I used to say to mommy, "I wish that I was like her because it's hard, like because it's difficult, right?"
We should
But
have your
now,
mom on. That's what we should have on. We should have your mom on for her to be able to say what it was like. That's gonna be a tearjerker. That would be a good. That's the episode we go for Webby. We talk.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the thing is, it's like it for me. I just it's so freeing to be exactly what you just described. Is
Mhm.
basically like I don't care. Like for me, like one day I called my mom when I was at work because somebody said they mentioned me changing. Like now that I've become like discovered I'm an introvert, I've changed. And I said, in what ways? So I called my mom, and that's because I don't think that people change. I think that we just evolve into
Yeah,
different.
yeah. Grow up. Yeah, yeah.
I called my mom and I said, "Mommy, do you think that I've changed?" And she was like, "Yeah, you have." And I said, "In what way?" So she said, "Well, you're speaking more now."
Glad you asked me that question. I've been dying to talk to you about this.
Well, she said, "You're speaking more now. Like you found your voice and you're using it." Because she said before, you used to cry a lot. Like if someone said something to me that was hurtful, I would cry.
Right,
If
right.
I didn't want to do something, I didn't know how to tell them, I would cry. Like I would just,
Oh wow.
because I'm sensitive in that way. But
Sensitive
not
to
being
wanting to perform for others.
Yeah, and that's the thing,
Right,
right?
right.
Because, like I mentioned to you, like I went to an event at church last week and I decided I'm not going in
Yeah.
because there were too many cars. And I was like, I'm
Yep,
not going in. Right.
yep.
Now, the previous version of Antonia would have gone in. She would have felt very uncomfortable in that space.
Mm,
She would have basically felt like, why did you even leave home, Antonia?
mm.
And then I would be sitting there like staring at the back of my mom's head, like, could you come on? Like, why are you still talking? But I was happy that I was able to say I'm not coming in, and I meant it.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful for my mother for her not being the type of person to say no, you have to come. I mean, I'm a old lady now, so I don't think she would force me. But I think that because mommy understands who I am, I think that I grew up being more hard on myself than she, right? Because
Yeah.
I've always been introverted. Like she's described me as a toddler on a playground in Jamaica in the middle of the field, sucking my finger with bags, and all the kids are around like playing. So this, like I've always been that, loner, and perfectly fine being that loner. Like it because the thing is, it's like you don't realize that you're uncomfortable until someone points out how uncomfortable it
Yeah.
is.
Or somebody makes you feel that way.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot of people. It's that's been interesting to unpack. You know what does that show up as in in people's lives? Like who's the person that doesn't make you feel like you? I think that's an interesting conversation of how people show up in your life that way, where you're
Mhm,
starting to question, well, should I, and it's good and bad. Like how your mom she showed up and she says, no, you are changed. You're like, really? And you're like, yeah, you are. But for this, da, 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 da.
mhm.
And it's like, oh, okay. That's a showing up, and it's revealing to you how you're seeing about others, but it doesn't necessarily make you feel bad or even it could make you feel good, but it could be kind of just like, wow, that's a revelation that I didn't see in myself that someone else did, and they show up to tell you that, and it's like, okay, cool, more information, download, got it, feedback. But then there's knuckleheads that show up that are really shouldn't be anywhere near you and really shouldn't open their mouths to talk to you,
Mhm.
but they think that because you are public, they have a right to, be an ass, and and then there's people that don't show up as an ass, but they do ass nine things.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And the person that shows up and being asked, my response to them is you're the old version of you, right? Because I my face, like, and I really do have like, what do you want? And because I really and truly could be talking to somebody like, oh, bubbling and carrying on, and then the wrong person will come in like, what? And I don't mean to be that way, right? But
I
it's
think
that.
you do. I suck. That's what's the hardest thing about this conversation for me is to see you as how you really were. But I like I feel like the true you isn't how you really were, but you felt you had to question yourself, you had to. And
Oh yeah,
I was in a similar situation with religion because I felt like I had to be part of that religion because I was raised that. I had to do this, I had to do that. But I didn't feel like that was truly, when I got to the age to ask questions, and I asked a lot of questions, and it was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. So I'm out. But like that concept of who am I, and how do I feel inside as a child, even as a young adult, or even as adult in your 30s, we don't really get space to we don't get well. I say we black people don't get white people go in their 20s. They go on trips to find themselves. So we
yes,
don't get the shit. We don't get the space to find ourselves. That's the
yes,
thing. It's like they get to go to Europe and backpack across the
yes. They go on
whatever
these
and
sabbaticals, like yes,
fall off a train and be picked back up, or was the other one? The train was domestic. The terrorists took over a train. And these kids would backpack and they beat up the terrorists. So like that doesn't happen to us. We don't get to
no.
do that. So
No, I think the best thing that happened for us is the pandemic, because that's when I was able to find myself.
mhm.
Well, learn, basically meet this version of Antonia, because before, like, I've always in a workspace, especially, I've always
Yeah, I
been
was thinking about Zoom.
the dry face, that dry, right? To the point where there was one time when I walked into the train station and one of my cousins, she called me, she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" So she's like, "What's wrong with your face?"
Yo, that's not. I'm sorry. The New York. That's the other part I was gonna say is that New York though, you don't, you can't. The app, I tell this to women on a train. I mean, I tell this to women in general about New York. Like, y'all need to. The women I care about would say, I need you to ride the train and ignore stuff that happens. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, I see it all the time. Women with and then the person doing it feeds off their energy, and they start doing something else crazy and do it. And it's like, but if you ignore it, so the way that you can't have a
You
emotional
can't.
face in New York, you can't. It's just
You
not,
cannot.
it's not gonna work.
Well, not. And so for me, like my face will be like, I mean, like if I see someone that I'm familiar with or whatever have you, if I want to say good morning, I'll say good morning, smile, and I'll go back to it like once I pass.
Hmm.
Because my thing is I have to be on alert. And I'm not walking around with a smile that's gonna welcome any and it. No, we're not doing that. We don't no, we don't do that. um but I am more aware like of my dry because I do feel like sometimes I'm just dry, right? I feel like,
Hmm.
depending on the person, I'm dry. Like my response can be very either dry or very colorful, you know. And there are times when I'm like, ooh, like I can really and truly see where people will look at me like she's such a weirdo. But I'm okay with it. Because I know that I'm different. Like I think that we're all unique. And I don't like everybody. Like when I remember years ago,
But
a cousin.
I think I gotta stop you there. I don't think that everybody like. I don't know anybody like that gets along with everybody anymore. I used to know people
No,
like that.
exactly,
Used
exactly.
to know
But
people.
but
Mhm.
but the thing is, I have a cousin in Florida, and years ago, years and years ago.
Okay, so we're not talking about out of state people. They're different. They're weird.
Okay, no, no, no,
No,
no,
no, no. But like
especially
that's not in New
especially in
York. Like
Florida.
nobody likes
No,
anybody.
no, no, no. But he said to me, I don't like people. And I thought to myself, that is so weird, especially coming from our large family. I couldn't understand the concept. And now I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it. Right. And so I think that to be an introvert, it's not trendy. It's to basically be authentic. I think it's to basically allow your true self to live. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
that and that there's more people speaking their true self
yeah.
than there are people who are not,
Right.
and that's a trend that people are speaking out more. It's
I
not a
say
trend necessarily to be an introvert.
no.
Right.
No. And I think that when people who are quiet basically find their voice, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're so rude. And I say to people all the time, like, look, just like how with you and the person that was humbugging you about going to the prom, my thing is, look, don't buy because I say to my mother, I'm not being rude. Like I'm sitting here minding my business. If Tom wants to come and interfere with my brain time, they're gonna get what they get. And I'm not trying to be rude. I just feel like if I've already stated
Hey,
no,
right.
it is what
Why are
it is.
you? Why are
You don't
you
want to
doing
enter into the danger zone because I think that there are times when I really don't want to talk a lot. Like I feel like when I say no, I don't want to, that it like basically like let's not prolong this thing, right? If I say if you look at me, you want to talk, and I look at you like, then just walk away. We can talk another time. We can talk another time. Like
this? Exactly.
text me. Leave me a note in the mailbox.
That part.
I mean, but
Yeah.
the thing is, I'm enjoying it, and I'm glad that I'm at this space now where I don't care. And it's not that I don't care about people, but I don't care about what people think about me. I don't care what they say about me, um, because at the end of the day, like I do understand and recognize that the only opinion that matters is mine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's a wonderful thing, introvert. Own your power.
Freedom
It's fun.
to be you,
Yes, it
whatever it
is.
means for you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good topic.
Yeah, I like it. I do like it. I do wish that, people who are quiet should definitely just do some research, and get to know who you are.
Right.
Explore stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's fun. Um, like the reality of it is, I think that every single person on planet Earth is weird in their own way. Some of us are just okay with expressing it and showing it, others mask it, whatever have you. But the one thing for me is that I know that the all the years that I've spent pretending to like people or to be in certain spaces is draining. So draining. And I feel like
Facts.
now that I'm choosing to walk this journey alone, carefree, it's fun. Like when I go to the park on Saturday morning, sometimes I'm there for like 4 hours, like I'm doing like 9 miles or whatever have you. And I observed like walking home last week, like just strolling, and I thought to myself, it's so nice to not have plans. Like it's so nice to just be free, right? To just live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that that's that part of uh, growing up that we. I think the next generation will have, or they came in and the planet already that pre-programming Gen A, but I
Hmm.
think that the ability to maybe the next generation after Gen A, Gen B, I guess, will maybe be closer to X and baby boomers, and so they'll be kind of wide eyed and bushy tailed more so
Yeah.
than this Gen A is not, but um, and give them that space to be like, yeah, like I'm starting to see a trend more of black parents talking about how they're open to their grown kids coming home and not
Yeah.
being out there in the world by themselves. That's I've never seen. I've like not in 30 years, not in 40
Yeah.
years. You get out of this house, you keep on going. like, it's like, come on back. No, this ain't Jamaica. You can't come back here. so, they like that's you can do that in Jamaica. Like they ain't doing that here. So
Yeah.
I'm starting to see more people say and embrace what you just said. That it's okay to get up, run, fall down, come back, pick yourself up, and start again, and not decide how you should show up for you, and what makes you feel happy and comfortable,
Yes.
and what makes you tick, and all those boxes. And it's okay to discover that. I think the biggest lesson is it's okay to discover who you are,
Yeah.
to embrace after you discover, and live
Yes.
that truth, whatever
Yes.
that truth is.
Whatever it is, whatever it looks like for you, because
Yep.
like it, I don't think it's a trend, and I think it's
Right.
essential to recognize that true introversion is a fundamental aspect of the personality.
And it may
um
be an evolution too. It may be evolving. It may be part of
yeah,
evolutionary.
yeah,
This,
because I do think that during the pandemic a lot of people realize that they do like their alone time, and that they're not really lonely when they're alone. um
hmm
but pre-pandemic, I think we were so caught up with basically like
Oh my
just doing
God!
what
Every
God wanted.
holiday, every jump, every hoop.
Yeah. Like if you didn't have something on your calendar for every weekend, you were, what's wrong with you? Are
They're
you
gonna give
sick?
you something. They're gonna do a bar crawl. Hey, we're doing a flash
Right,
mob.
right.
Hey, we gonna do this.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I've never drink. This is actually water.
Mm.
And I've always tried to avoid happy hour. Like when they have plans at
Yeah,
work.
I never been to happy hour either.
No, and I used to. So
I
there
didn't
was
even
a.
understand the concept. Why am I getting happy at 5 o'clock? I
It made no
just
sense.
got
Like
off.
why you not going home?
Got off with the people. I'm not happy yet. I need to I need.
Yeah, I need to
Cause,
go home to.
yeah, it's just like you go to a bar with more people in there. Hey, how you doing? It's like,
Especially when they get drunk. And it's like no.
and
and
then
and
bar food tastes terrible. I mean, now it doesn't, but back then it tastes terrible in the '70s.
it was horrible. And the thing is, it's like, because I used to say to people, like, so there was a point in time when I used to use school as the excuse, right? So I used to be like, no, I have class. And then when school finished, I was like, oh no, I gotta find a new excuse. And I used to be like, but I don't drink. And they're like, oh, but they have water. And I'm like, but I don't smoke and I don't feel like doing this the whole time. And then they got rid of smoking in New York.
Yep.
I had to basically just be very creative with excuses. And when I had none, I'm like, all right, I'll just pass through. And I would literally just go stay a few minutes and leave. Yeah. Because the thing is, it's just not my scene.
And
And
I just don't. Who wants the bars in New York specifically, but bars in general, but especially in New York? I'm not interested. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me.
right,
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
right,
And then I
right.
always have my laptop bags. All right. It's like I'm hitting people with my bag. It's like, bro, this is not cool.
It's
Like,
not cool.
don't,
It's not cool. It's not cool at all.
like,
And I remember one time
never
a
coming.
girlfriend of mine, she had given up drinking. She was fasting
Mm,
before her birthday,
mm,
right? So we went to celebrate another colleague's birthday, and
mm-hmm,
so she was sober, right?
mm-hmm.
The DJ was horrible, right? So everybody there drinking, having a good old time, and
Horrible.
she was like, oh my God, the DJ, what is he doing? I was like, okay, welcome to my world. I said, when you drink and you get all whatever, you don't realize how horrible it is. But now you're in my world. And now you get to
That's funny.
experience
That's
what I see all the time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Reality. That's what they say. Reality sucks. Yes.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I don't know. I'm at a place where I'm enjoying life, and I think that that is the whole purpose of this journey, is to enjoy it.
Hmm.
And you can't enjoy it, because I mean, I think sometimes we think we're enjoying life, but until you really begin to enjoy life freely,
Yeah.
that's where it is. So yeah, my message to you, introvert, is to embrace who you are, and little at a time, because it took a while for me to get here. I didn't This isn't an overnight thing, but allow yourself to be free, allow yourself to just experience life as it should be. Sometimes you may have to walk away from the people who are in your circle, because I think that's the thing. If you don't have people that support what you're doing and support who you are, it does make it difficult, because then that's when you'll feel like, okay, well, I want to be with these people, and because they think it's weird for me to be quiet or whatever, or not go out, I'm just gonna go. You don't have to. You
Nope.
don't have to. Like, live life on your own terms.
That part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this was
Yeah.
fun. Oh my gosh. Well, I we will, I guess, I think a lot of the conversation that we have, we keep saying we're gonna, like, circle back, and I think we will, and I think we should have some guests, so that we can get other people to share
Perspective.
their
Yep.
experience. Yeah. Because I think it is important for us to continue this trendy topic called introvert. Well,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, so thank you for tuning in, everyone. Please drop in the comments and let us know, like, what has your experience been like? Do you think it's a trend, being introvert, or are you living in your truth? And yeah, so please like, subscribe, comment below, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Dr. Pratt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.